Hey Ian, you ready?
You bet I am. What are we talking about tonight? And talk about guns?
If it's not a 30 cal, I'm not in.
Jeez, mate, that's not very inclusive. Have you seen Jono?
Hey Jono, you ready?
Well, God knows where he is, mate. He's probably caught up in the neighbour's wire again. You ready to go? Let's do this.
Mate, I'm ready. Let's crank it up.
Righto then. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hunters Campfire, where we're going to talk about all things hunting and the great outdoors. And we'll probably throw in a few tips along the way.
You want a tip? Say it once, say it 1,000 times. Goats love rocks.
Or a few things about deer. Mark, what do you reckon about deer?
As a deer hunter, I love hunting pigs.
Well, that's about as useful as I expected it to be. Oh, check it out. Here comes Jono. He's being chased by the neighbour's dog.
Okay guys, let's get this started. Welcome to the Hunters Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. It's time for the Hunters Campfire.
Yes, let's talk about the Australian Shooters magazine. I think that's an excellent start topic. I rang Mark this afternoon. Give him a look at that front
Look who's
cover.
on the cover.
Minecraft Madness. So, for those who get the magazine in April, I'm talking away from the mic. In April, I did part 1 of the rifle build. And in May, they published part 2, which was the hunt that Ian and I went on with Mark Hobbs down on the border, where we did the sighting in video and the scope reset up video as well. And got a cover. I went through my covers collection. I've got 13 now, but I haven't had one since 2020. So
this is my first cover.
Yeah, it is, because that's Ian's photo. And well, as I said, it's if you want to get kind of lyrical, it's the Alpha. He's got the front page, and there's also one of Ian's photos on the inside back page.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think I've got a cover.
When it comes to photography, here's the Alpha and Omega. For those who went to Christian college and know these kind of things. I actually like the back photo a little better. It's the one.
I think that front photo is excellent. Hold it up again. And if you're listening,
it is excellent. I didn't say it wasn't excellent.
Very sorry about that. It's a photo of Mark pondering life over a paddock with his rifle and his pack and his Hunters Campfire cap. And I noticed that you mentioned Hunters Campfire in the article. That was well weaved in. Good job.
Good. No, what I like, and as I said, that is a very nice photo. But what I like about I like the other one. I just like it better. The blood on the boot.
Yeah, without wanting to pick on the photo, because I love the photo, it's a great photo. I've always wondered, and this is the spoiler for everyone, but not for the general readership. You wouldn't normally find the casing next to the blood, unless you shot really damn close. No. But other than that, it's awesome.
Shoot him in a barrel, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some truth in that. For those interested ever in taking photos for magazines and stuff, the reason why Ian's photo is a cover photo, other than it's a very good photo, is it is in the right profile. So profile is really important for magazines. For covers, they like, a portrait profile. They don't want a landscape. So, and it's a 3/4 body shot, so knees and up. Full portrait works really well. A little bit off center, so they can put some text in there. So nailed it on the head. Kaboom.
Yeah. If I was to give anyone a tip about photos now, because not everyone, but just about everyone has a very capable camera in their pocket these days. And as much as, professional cameras are great, these are still pretty damn good, and that photo you saw came off my iPhone. If you don't know how to do it, go and learn how to go into photos, change it to portrait mode, and then up in the top right-hand corner, there's the little f-stop icon that allows you to change the f-stop. Now, that if you drag that f-stop all the way down, you'll notice that you focus directly on the subject. It makes the subject pop out and blurs the background, which is that sort of dreamy sort of shot that everyone seems to like. It's so easy, and it makes your photos 1,000 times better.
Mm.
So to do that, go to photos, go to portrait mode, up in the top right-hand corner, f-stop button. Just go and focus it on something, and you'll see that everything behind it blurs, and it just makes the photo amazing. You can slide that f-stop to make things a bit more blurrier, but if you want to take pictures.
So you're just changing the field of view. And the story itself has a lead page photo, which in itself is, technically not a great photo, but it's a great photo. It works really well. The light, the look, everything like that. It worked really well. Another one that worked really well. So if you're interested in that stuff and you've got the magazine, you can see there's some really nice photos in there that really worked out really well. And there's actually a third story in there too, which is I reviewed those Spartan Springbok. That's in there as well. So it was a good publishing month this month.
I noticed that magazine comes out on email. I know we'll get the hard copy as well. It comes out on email. Is that link just live to everyone? Because I don't remember having to put a password in to get it. If not,
I don't know.
You'll find out at the bottom of the notes for this podcast. We'll put the link, and if you can get to it, go and have a look.
Oh,
if you can't, go and sign up. It's worth it. It's a good read.
Yeah, unless you've got a login, I don't know how they'd restrict it.
No, I don't think they do. It's like the ADA magazine. The ADA magazine comes out in hardcover. You pay for that, but if you go and get the Australian Deer app for free, you can read all the magazines on your phone for no cost. Even if you're not a member. There you go. More free stuff.
That's
why you tune in.
So that's the big news for me today. Arrived today. So
my big news for today is
this is massive. This is massive news.
It is my PTA for my new Benelli shotgun. It turned up today in the post. It's nice and damp from all the rain, but it's here.
And what do you live by pigeon?
Tell the world what you're getting.
So it is the Benelli. You might know. You know more about the shotgun than I do.
828U.
Yeah, it's 828U, isn't it? It's an 828U. It's a beautiful gun. It's the George Jetson shotgun.
It is, well, there you go. Right, it's the George Jetson shotgun. We were talking about it offline. If you were to call the Beretta shotgun the Aston Martin of the shotgun world, the Benelli is more like the Ferrari.
I actually think it's more of a
modern and sleek.
Modern than that. Again, it's a Tesla or something. It's a Cybertruck. It is a very modern looking shotgun.
It's not going to break down on the way to the shooting comps.
No, it's not.
Doesn't need charging.
Recharging halfway through the shooting comps.
So what's the Frankie?
Well, I haven't seen your Frankie yet. I can't wait to see it. I don't
know
what you've got.
If you know your important historical events, for instance, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the Terminator movie.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
You know that in the Terminator movie, when he walks into the gun shop and does that thing where he gets asked for all the guns. If I remember correctly, one of the shotgun he asks for is a Frankie.
The pump action one.
Really?
Yeah, the SPAS 12.
So what model?
Name to Uzi and all that stuff. It's SPAS 12. The famous
pump action shotgun.
Yeah, if you watch any action movie from say 80s to early 2000s, when they've got that massive pump action shotgun that has that really weird hook butt stock, and they're actually a dual purpose. So they were a auto and pump, and they had that massive. That's a Frank SPAS 12.
Well,
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I'll have to go back.
I have a shotgun that matches my watch.
Yarny. Righto. So the reason we're calling the Benelli the Ferrari, I guess, is because it's the new modern, sleek, customizable bells and whistles. It's a completely different design. You'll love it. The action is very different to any shotgun action I've ever seen. Yeah, the brake action.
Smooth like
you got
the
moving
rifle?
plates in it. And it's kind of. I don't know. Okay. I don't understand it. Well, we're going to pull it apart and have a look at it when you get it. And it's going to be fun to shoot. But to answer the question then, Mark, if we've got a Ferrari and an Aston Martin, what is the Frankie?
The Arnie.
Oh, it's the Arnie. Arnie's not a car.
Oh, we're using cars.
It's no car. It's Terminator.
It's the Terminator. What model Frankie do you have?
I have the Instinct.
Frankie
Pretty sure.
Instinct. Okay.
And it's a color case hardened one.
Instinct sporting Frankie shotgun.
Yeah, color case hardened. Very nice. A very nice field gun. You'd be quite comfortable.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a field gun, and I have walked a field with it a couple of times now. It is a very nice gun just to throw over your shoulder. And
adjustable cheek piece?
No, she's straight. It's a field gun. It's a pretty straightforward that sense. 5 chokes.
It looks nice.
Yeah, selector barrels. Yeah, selectors, the whole lot. That really quite a good shotgun for what it is. Comes in a nice blaze orange box, so you break it down, put it in your truck. So
Frankie's signature colour. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the black. I've got the black. There is actually a silver version, I think.
Barrels, you mean?
Action too.
The action. Yeah.
I think there's one that has a silver, a more metallic action. It's got the black.
I'm looking at that now. Yeah.
It's a pretty gun.
So, Mike, you said you've been carrying that in the field.
Say again?
You said you've been carrying that in the field.
I have.
Well, you've been looking for pigs, or
I have been looking for things to put holes in with that Frankie.
Okay.
Instinct.
You're carrying buckshot?
Yes.
Not a slug.
People at Brita are probably going, oh, God. What are you doing?
Does it have any engraving on the side plate?
No, it's color case hardened. That's all. So it's got the
model
mixed in with the black.
Find which model you have.
Okay.
L maybe. Anyway, doesn't matter. We'll see them shortly. I know we were going to hold this off as a concept. I'm going to throw it out there for people anyway. We're going to organise a bit of a fun comp. It's going to be sometime in the future. We're going to build 3 squads, maybe 4 squads. Might bring Hendo into this because he's been part of the shotgun process with me for a little while, so we might end up with 4 squads. So if you're a shotgun shooter, or you'd like to be a shotgun shooter, or you just want to participate, and you're in Southeast Queensland, or you want to travel to Southeast Queensland for a fun weekend, we're going to organise a bit of a competition between us all. We stack the teams up. We need squads of... In fact, you can have squads of 5, because there's 5 on the layout. So squads of 5. So we need 4 guests per each of us to join a team and have a bit of a fun competition. We'll try and wrangle some more prizes out of people for it. Be good fun. So if you're interested, drop us a line, let us know, we'll put you on the list, and we'll let you know what it's going to be. But it should be good fun. We'll get a range to ourselves for the day, hopefully, or at least a layout, and we'll have a good laugh. You have a chance to play with some pretty cool guns. And if you've got your own, bring them along, and it'll be good. We'll shoot for bragging rights, maybe some other stuff.
Yeah, it's the Frankie Instinct Sporting. That's the one I got.
Sporting.
Yep. So it's got you can see it's color case hardened, action, black.
If you go to the Brita website, it's on there.
It's a very nice looking
Frankie website at the moment. Yeah,
it's a nice
the Brita Australia website's got it.
Oh, yeah. Be good. Okay.
And I also believe that they make a 20 gauge side by side.
Really?
Okay. Because I haven't got a 20 gauge.
I thought
I've got a lot of shotguns. I realised.
Oh, you got a 28 gauge, wasn't it?
I got a 28 gauge and I got 312 gauge. So I've got the Frankie. I've got an old SKB that I'm sending to Byron to jazz hands up that I bought for like $300. I'm going to get it rebuilt. I've got a Webley Scott side by side that's got brown barrels, and I've now got that 28 gauge side by side, the little CZ. So like a 20.
Cool. There is a Frankie Instinct Alloy Sporting, which comes in a 20.
There is a sporting one, yeah.
That'd be good fun.
All right. Well, while we're still talking about shotguns, I had my first kind of real competitive shoot on the weekend. I had one when I first decided I was going to do it again and embarrassed myself silly by missing a few shots. And then this weekend I had another go. Well, you expect more than you get sometimes. So I say you can be humbled by the sport pretty quickly. Had a shot the weekend just gone, and yeah, did reasonably well. I was pretty happy with it, but I'm still fine-tuning the gun, so we'll be down at practice again on Wednesday, and then there's my local club shoot this weekend. I'll head down there. Luckily, my good wife is away doing horse sports on Mother's Day, so I get a free pass. So the boy and
When's Mother's Day? Is it Mother's Day?
It is Sunday.
Okay.
And by the time you listen to this, Mother's Day would have been gone. So hopefully you remembered and didn't rely on us.
No.
But that'll be good.
I'm now putting that in my calendar now.
Couple of minor adjustments to be made, and I reckon it's going to be a cracking weekend. So good fun. That's my
Amazing
excitement.
difference chokes can do.
Yeah, so I've been practicing with full chokes, which means basically at 30 odd meters, the pattern's choked to about a 40 centimeter wide, whereas at 35 meters, you should be able to go to a quarter choke or even completely open, and that will give you a spread of about 80 centimeters. So if you're practicing small, when it comes to comp, you open it up, and by rights, you should absolutely blaze every first shot. Haven't tested that on the new gun yet, so I'm going to do that. I should throw it on a pattern board, to be honest, but don't have time for it, so we'll just do it on the day. Let you know how that goes.
And that DT11 has also, the barrel is somehow choked too, isn't it?
Yeah, so I don't have the DT11. I've got the...
I'm really interested in understanding that.
Yeah, so there's a thing called Stelium barrels. Beretta have got Stelium Plus, and Stelium Pro. And again, I'll do this no justice at all, but if you cut the barrel in half, you can see the Stelium color. On the DT11, it's the full length of the gun, and it basically fine tunes and controls the pattern of the shot right to the end of the barrel. So its pattern is far more uniform. The one I've got, which is the 694, it's 3/4 Stelium or half Stelium, something like that. You can see it in the barrel when you cut it up. I'm going to send a video out shortly that'll show it. And the difference between what I was shooting before, which was a field gun that didn't have any Stelium, and what I've got now in the 694, one of them broke the clays into bits, the other one turns them into dust. It's just so much more controlled choke. Yeah, it's certainly not a gimmick.
It's a forcing cone in the barrel.
Yeah, that's what I think. I thought it'd be something like that.
Yeah,
so I just wonder if it's stepped. It'd be interesting to see it, how it works.
I don't understand. There's a pretty major price difference between Stelium Plus, Stelium Pro, and I haven't yet understood the technology that goes into it. That, I mean, it's not just a marketing push. It actually makes an enormous difference. But I don't understand what the technology is and why they wouldn't just put it in all their guns. I don't understand how they manufacture guns. But yeah, it was a question I asked Nathan, who's the rep down in Victoria, and I don't think I got a clear enough answer, to be honest with you. I think they just it's like anything. You can detune a car, and you can have a tuned car. Like when I bought a Polaris, you can buy exactly the same model. One's detuned, one's tuned right up. Gives people a point of difference when they're buying, more premium quality products, I guess. But certainly makes a difference.
On the website, it says Stelium barrels are fitted on all rifles, tactical and dynamic shotguns, and most Beretta over and under side-by-side and semi-automatic hunting. Stelium Plus barrels are adopted on the X400 Extreme Plus semi-automatic hunting shotguns and the 690, 694, and A400. And Stelium Pro distinguish the most advanced platform developed for target shooting. So,
I'll dive into that when I get some time and try and understand it a bit more. But I've certainly made the products. It's not just a prettier gun; it absolutely has technical advantage, which is it's just really good. Anywho, enough shotgunning. Let's talk about hunt camp, because we've had
hunt camp.
It's done now. It's over.
Well, we made it back. Just
made it out.
Made it out. Yeah.
It was a pretty hectic exit. We all bailed a day early because it was just getting difficult to move around in the campsite because we got a fair bit of water underfoot. It just happened that the place that we selected, or I selected, so I take blame for this, that I selected, had reasonable runoff for rain. So, whilst it was nice and hard underfoot when we got there, by the time we'd had 2 or 3 good downpours, man, she was soggy.
It was very soggy.
Jeez. Yeah. I actually felt a little bit bad that we'd churned that track up, but there's absolutely nothing we could do about it. We were all quite careful to park off the mud and stay on the track. But, with that volume of people in there, we're always going to make a bit of a mess. Nothing that a bit of time won't fix, obviously, but yeah, it was interesting. How long did it take to get the camper out? We hooked the camper onto
2 hours. 2 hours to get out.
Yeah, Land Cruiser onto Jono's camper to get it out because it was the biggest engine we had with a winch in front of it, and it took a couple of hours just to move it. 20 meters, 30 meters.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more than that, but we had to go around some really, really big ruts. But and we had to use the trees to drag it out. So we probably went 30, 40 meters, and it took almost 2 hours of winching and snatching and all the rest of it. It was I didn't think we were going to get out, to be honest. I got up that morning and I was like, we're not getting out of here.
You were peaking.
I was.
Yeah, and the way we'd stacked everyone in, like, we had a couple of guys come in first and we parked them in, and then my camper went in front of them, so I was parked right up against their drawbar. So that was Kingy, and I said to Kingy, mate, after we'd set up, I said, what day are you going home, mate? He goes, Sunday now, I think, because that's when you're leaving and I ain't getting out until you move. So we're all parked. The Jono's parked horizontally to me, so we had the 2 annexes that opened up to give us a big, under canvas living space in case it got really bad. The fireplace in there for when it got a bit cooler. But it became, we had a couple of different events during the week and it became a communal spot. So there was standing room for 25 people in there. And when you got 25 people wandering through a tent with a lot of water underneath, it got muddy quick. So, and the leeches found a home and all the good things that come with water found a home. We were joking at one point, the leeches disappeared. Like, it got really wet and we were sitting around in there and
got too wet for them.
There was one of the guys had a leech on it as thick as your thumb on the back of his leg. Got a photo of that. But then a day later, they were gone. They were nowhere to be seen. We figured that all the eels in the river that we made with our tracks must have eaten them all. With that fish coming up and down our tyre track marks. But, yes, anyway, that's the way things go. We'll try and find a hard stand. But it was interesting that our ranger came in and had a yarn to us. And he said that they're trying to convince, because there's been so much forestry, and clearing of pines out of there, that they've made a few dollars off the area in the last couple of years, that they're trying to convince them to create a Ponderosa in Nundle, so a hard stand camping area, campground, which would make a lot of sense because, moving us all out of Ponderosa and having to go and find campgrounds creates the exact problem that we had, and that was, camping on ground that's not fit for purpose.
There is that quite open area up towards the end of the forest there, what we call the finger. That's quite an open area there.
Yeah, we were very close to that.
Yeah, that entrance. Yeah, we were just below.
Where we camped was on the other side of the road, about a K past the Wi-Fi tree.
Yeah.
And that was really, that's gritty, gravelly. So when we got rained in, it stayed pretty well, and it drained off because we were up high. There's that. That's a pretty dry place too. I've been in there. Yeah, there's a few good places they could easily put something together.
It just needs them to build it.
Without even clearing too much, without even clearing too much, and it's already got an access in there. It's pretty flat. Put a pad in there and put a ablution block, and you've got a second camp spot right there, and it's at the northern and the southern end, so you've got 2 options.
And I almost think even if they didn't put an ablution block in there, we said to our crew, everyone just bring the portable chemical camping toilets, and everyone brought one, so there was no real running off into the trees and leaving 35 shit everywhere.
What's the name? A music festival.
It was. It's exactly what it looked like. You actually see the video.
25 turders in a row.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was joking at one point. I'd given all the stuff away, but the last prize was going to be the best shitter in camp, because rather than set my own up, I just quietly looked around and sampled everyone else's. I didn't have to deal with it, Anyway, it was great. But the camp itself was really successful. We had 25 hunters come through all up. The majority were there for the whole of the time. We only had 1 or 2 people in and out. leaving early. We had a couple that arrived early, but at one point we had 24, 23 people in camp, which was quite a social thing. And to say that they were all top blokes, like it was a really good crew.
It was a good crew, very good crew.
You think normally when you get a group of 30 fellas together, there's going to be at least one knob in the group that just, the loudmouth. I was saying that to somebody. I said, there's not one clown in this whole group that I've noticed. Like, they're really good. And then I thought to myself, well, if there's always one and I haven't found one, then maybe it's me. But anyway, it was.
That's an interesting thought process to go through.
Yeah, just process of elimination. Yeah.
It's like a very Agatha Christie style.
Yeah,
it's me.
It must be me. But yeah, look, it was a super respectful group of people, and there were some guys that had plenty of experience, and they were just more than happy to help out. And then when there were guys that probably still hadn't even seen deer in the wild, so there were huge extremes of experience, and everyone got stuck in. Like, it was very first hunt, very first morning, the first deer came in, and everyone's like, oh my god, how good's this? And then everyone's wrapped around, and everyone got a Yahoo in, and big congratulations, and then it got down to butchering, and everyone got to stand around and have a look at how it was done, and everyone had a different way of doing it. So people got to see multiple deer break down. Like, it's easy to watch one.
Yeah.
Am I still there?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just had my internet connection is no good. You watch one and you don't really pick it up until you get hands-on with it and actually start to do it. It's worked really well, because he came the first year and he hadn't even touched a deer in the wild or seen one. The second year he took it. He took his first deer and he went through the whole process of breakdown. I managed to catch him at a camp between Hunt Camp 2 and 3 and helped him take another deer, and he went through the process of butchering and gutting and all of that sort of stuff again, just to refamiliarize himself with it. And it's difficult to remember when you only see him every year, or maybe one every 6 months type thing. It's something you've really got to get hands on with. This year he's come in and he's gone back to his favorite spot and he's shot another deer, and this time he managed to remember all of that and break the whole thing down in the field and bring it back. And he was so stoked with the whole thing that he's now, like, he's fully self-sufficient as a hunter. He's learnt all of that and he's gone through it, and he was so proud of that. I think everyone was really proud of him for doing it. But yeah, that's sort of the experience that was delivered through the camp, and everyone's at a different stage. But by the time we'd gone through, we had, I think in the camp dates, the competition dates, we had them 14th to the whatever date it was. We had 13 deer shot and brought back into camp, which I think is an exceptional number for public land. Years gone by, we've had 5, smaller group, but we've had 5. But then around the fringes of that, one of the fellas had access to private land nearby. Early on in the trip, he went and shot a pretty big bodied buck and brought it in for people to share the meat, because we didn't know how many animals we were going to get. Just gave us another example. So he sacrificed today. He went out and got that, brought it back. Everyone shared it out. And obviously Adam was there a day before. He shot a buck, a nice buck. And there was, I think, a few pigs and a goat taken in the end. But yeah, it was a really successful trip. Everyone learned a lot. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of the outcome. Looking forward to doing it again in another location, hopefully next year. But it was a pretty cool experience.
It is really kind of like we're having a bit of a golden age of deer hunting at the moment. The opportunities are there and it's paying off. So people are, and we're getting a lot of people who just never done it before, and they're having success, which is you can't buy that kind of enthusiasm. The fact that you can get out there and actually have success, it's fantastic. I mean, we've had so many people contact us and say, hey, here's my first one, got it. So it's more power to them, and love to see people develop and become more confident in it, and love to see people who've never done it before have a go and actually get some runs on the board. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And Jason sent us a message. He came in for the last couple of days. I took him out for a walk.
He arrived in the rain, remember?
Oh, I know, poor fella. Like, we were all there. Everyone's pretty tired, and I think not that the enthusiasm had waned at all, but everyone was pretty dialed in Like people knew where their spots were, their routines were sorted. So, in the first few days, there was a lot of instruction. What to look for, how to look for it. People coming back in. There was a deer or two. We'd go through that breakdown process. We'd talk about what they'd seen. And everyone's jostling for spots. We had this huge map on the wall. So, if people were working a certain area, we could zone it off so no one would encroach on their space. And, that map was pretty dynamic. It was moving all the time as people were, feeling like they'd sent it out a spot. So they'd rub their name off it and then go and put another one up there and go and look at another area. But by the time Jason got into camp, everyone had found their locations, and they were up at 4:30. They were gone. They were back. They were getting their stuff sorted out, for the afternoon, fixing a few things up, getting back out there again. So it was probably a little bit less social at that point. But I took him for a walk around my little spot that I'd been hunting for the week, just to show him some of the sign that I'd been finding and what to look out for. And he didn't get to see a deer in the 3 days that he was there, but he certainly got to come around for that walk, have a look. He's very new to it, and he got to see 3 or 4 animals broken down in camps. Even if they weren't taking a deer, they were still getting quite a bit out of just being in the camp itself. So, yeah, I think there's an experience there for everyone.
Yeah, it was very educational. I mean, I know, as you said, there were a few deer taken in the first couple of days, but not many. And then we went out and took the boys for a bit of a walk around and showed them what the sign is. And we just came straight out of camp. We just literally walked 100 meters and we started finding sign everywhere. And we found rubs, we found scrapes, we found, we found everything. And they're like, oh, that's what it looks like. And once we showed them, and then next thing you know, deer after deer just started coming in. I found the scrape. Yeah, I found the scrape, and I sat on the scrape, and Michael shot a deer on the scrape, and he didn't know what a scrape was before that. So that was being able to pass on that knowledge and really show the guys, what you're looking for, and then they basically took that in and put that straight, what that knowledge they had learned, put that into practice, and the deer just came deer after deer came in after that. It was awesome. It was really good to see that.
And it was a fluke. The second day in camp, it was the second day really, but we got there on a Saturday. I decided not to hunt Sunday. I just, I wanted to get camp sorted out and all of the comms up and just make sure everything was working properly. So I got up that Sunday morning. Most of the people had gone out hunting, and there were a couple of guys left in camp. The Joes, call them the Joes.
The Joes.
The two Army fellas. Well, actually, they're Air Force. They wouldn't want to be called Army.
Air Force, yeah.
A couple of funny stories about them. 2 Air Force fellas that I call the Joes, the GI Joes. Anyway, they were still in camp having their coffees, as the Air Force fellas probably would do. They wouldn't get up too early. And just over the back of camp, there was a buck started croaking. No, he's just there, just in the gully behind camp. So I went and grabbed the croaking horn that I had and fired off a couple of croaks, and he fired up back, and I went over to the Joes and said, hey, there's this guy over at camp. And it's funny, so I said, why don't you should grab your rifle and go and hunt him down? Answer I got was, I haven't finished my coffee yet. I'm not going. It does speak to Air Force, really, doesn't it?
Well,
anyway, a few more.
Can't blame a man for having his priorities.
No, that's right.
Just think Top Gun.
I was rushing off after him either. A couple more croaks, and you could hear him cruising up behind camp. He was answering back, but he was going across to cut our wind, as they would. And as soon as he got in line with our wind, he shut up and disappeared. But he remained up there all week. You could hear him croaking up there. So it was up there that we knew that there was a buck. So after sort of 3 or 4 days of people coming in saying, is this deer shit? No, that's roo shit. Is this deer shit? No, that's roo shit too. Is this deer? And on it went. We decided to do this bit of a nature walk. And as John has said, it was literally 100 meters from camp.
100 meters camp.
And the signs started appearing. You could see the rubs. And then eventually you sort of dialed into being able to see the stuff, and more rubs showed up, and then shit showed up, and then stag shit showed up. And then we found our way over to the creek where the beds looked like they'd be under that low-lying sort of tea tree stuff. And sure enough, straight underneath there's fresh buck bed. So everyone that came on that, I think we probably had 6 or 7 fellas came for a walk. And and those guys were, most of them were saying, "Well, that's not even what I was looking for." So now I can see what we're looking for. It's a whole lot easier. And as John said, it was the proof was in the animals that showed up not long after. So it was cool. It's really good. Did you have a highlight, John?
How many in total do you reckon you got in camp?
13 deer between. So we had our our competition, and that was from the Sunday to the following Saturday. So that started on the 14th, and between those two dates, we had 13 deer.
So everyone got at least half a deer to take home. Well, plus minus.
There's a fair amount of sharing.
Yeah,
it's
a lot of meat.
sharing.
A couple others. Yeah, there was a heap of meat.
Yeah, plus the guy, as you had said, was it Chris who brought in one from the private block that he's got access to, just to make sure that people got meat.
Man,
it was awesome.
Like,
people were sharing. It was great, and he brought in a big buck. Yeah, everyone got meat. I think everyone got meat. They wanted meat. Jason got to sample some as well. There was some, I think Joe's cooked some up on the barbecue that night, and then he got to eat some, which was, I think, his first deer eating experience.
Jason, it was funny talking to Jason. It's like, he's come from all sorts of walk. He said he'd come from a pretty interesting background. I can't remember what his trade was, but it was in environmental sciences or something like that. And he said he's gone from the other side, from the,
the dark side.
The dark side. I'm not going to say. I think he said he went through a vegetarian phase and he's been through this, but it was more about potentially eradicating ferals off the landscape, and then coming back and maturing into a mindset that yes, that's probably still a good idea, but they're also a resource, and that resource can become food, and I can kind of attack this goal that he has, his personal goal as a hunter and as a native. Wildlife lover, I guess, or landscape. Being concerned about the landscape. So we talked a bit about the stuff on our walk around, and then the next experience he had with hunting was gutting and butchering, which is a pretty big step straight into it. Haven't yet seen the deer. Now we're into ripping one to bits. Mark's pointing at something.
You keep going. You just made me.
Yeah, so he's gone from thinking he wants to do it to being in the bush to now breaking an animal down. And I had a yarn to him just on the night after that had happened. I said, well, so you've been through that. What do you think of the taste of it? And he said, I think I might have tasted it once, but I don't remember it. So then the Joes cooked some up. I thought, here's the chance, mate. You've made all of this effort. I said, you better bloody like it, because if you don't like the taste of it now, there's no hope for you.
Yeah.
Luckily enough, fresh backstrap on the barbecue with a bit of salt usually tastes pretty good. So I think he's hooked on it. And the message he had the other day was him and his son are getting into it now. So they'll become avid public land bow hunters, and, probably can't come up with too many better ways to spend time with your son, I reckon.
Agreed.
Keep going, guys. I'm trying to find something.
No worries. Did you have a moment that sticks out in your head from camp, Jono?
I've got a few. Some are memorable for not the right reason, but I think being the mud being one of them, and trying to get out of the mud, and obviously I didn't have a lucky moment with a buck as well, just a young buck. I was actually sitting over a scrape of I believe he's a big buck, I think so, and a younger buck came in. I think he must have been a satellite buck coming in. He cut in behind me, caught my wind, and I had a shot at him when he was running away, but I missed him, unfortunately. So that was a low moment for me. But a good moment for me, a happy moment, memorable one, was that walk that we did with the guys. Cool. Actually seeing the light bulb moment go off when they suddenly realized what they were looking for. We showed them photos and saying, this is a scrape, this is a rub. But when we could actually show it in real life, and, and they can see it up close and personal, they can see what it looks like. You can see the scrapes on the actual tree, the rub marks and all that sort of thing. That light bulb moment for me was probably the highlight, and the proof was in the pudding, because after that, so many animals came into camp because they knew what they were looking for. So that for me was a real highlight.
I'm so glad it paid off, because we could have gone for that walk and seen nothing.
Absolutely,
but
it didn't. We saw
been any better.
No, absolutely not, and that's why that for me was the highlight. Was just seeing the light bulb switch on for some people. Saying that's what a rub tree looks like. That's what a scrape is. That's what deer shit looks like. And they then put that into practice, and the animals started coming into camp after that.
Five animals came in the next morning.
Yeah, and the fact, like, Michael shot one on a scrape. He found a scrape, sat over the scrape, and he actually dropped the deer on the scrape. So that for me was a major highlight. Yeah.
There was some other cool stuff. We had our world famous dessert competition, and it was well represented. It was
hotly contested.
Holy I didn't expect it. So we were gonna. The idea was that every sort of night someone could make, or two people could make a dessert. and we judged them over time. But after like half the trip had, like the dates had already disappeared and no one had made any desserts because everyone's too stuffed. Everyone's gone out and hunting and come back.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it?
We've got stuff. We'll do dessert night. We'll just do dessert night. Everyone can do it on this night. And then we'll just cram everyone into the tent and we'll force feed everyone like 12 desserts. And my God, it started off with Arthur's homemade
self-sourcing.
He had a what was that? It was wasn't a bread. No, you did a bread and butter pudding. I don't know.
I did bread and butter pudding.
It was quite rich, and they all knew what was going on. The smart bastards. So Arthur's like, well, if I'm going to be first, I'm making 2 desserts. So he made 2 desserts, but he served up a helping of the first one that you probably couldn't really have a second helping of anything. So by the time you'd had both of his, poor old Frank was going to be next. Yeah. Everyone was stuffed. No one could fit anymore. We still had like 5 to go. So anyway, everyone got through it, but Frank's won it.
Frank put in so much
needed
effort,
to win it because it had so much hype, but it certainly lived up to its hype. But he made an apple pie and
what was it? Apple moonshine apple pie.
He had an apple pie and he paired it with an apple pie moonshine.
Yeah,
that he'd made.
And the apples were poached in the moonshine.
Right. So
it wasn't a pie. It was a crumble. It
was an apple crumble. Crumble with the apples poached in apple pie moonshine. And a serve of apple pie moonshine to go with it.
Yes, in a little glass, we all got a apple pie moonshine.
I still got 2. I started putting them aside. So that won it. I made I won it, didn't I? I won it, but I wasn't in. I claimed I won it, but I wasn't in the competition. So Frank came second, so he won by default. I made golden syrup dumplings. Thought that went down pretty good. And you backed it up with a chocolate hot cross bun bread butter pudding.
But pudding with vanilla ice cream
and custard, as it should have been. And there were more. There was
the brownies were good.
The brownies came in, and there was old mate's Maltesers chocolate fudge or whatever it was.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the Malteser one.
It was pretty damn good. So anyway, we've certainly outdone what we did. Well, I think we've outdone what we did the previous year, but it'll become a thing, and everyone
it's expanding. And it's expanding next year.
Yes. Well, I don't know about this one.
I think we should do it. So there was a couple guys in Camp Mark who do homebrew. So,
okay.
So Ian made a mead and brought a mead. Frank usually makes a mead, but his mead wasn't ready. I think he was just couldn't compete with Ian's.
Wasn't ready. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It sampled mine left is in the car.
Yeah. And then
he made the moonshine.
He did make the moonshine. Yeah, absolutely. And then one of the Joes brewed his own beer, and he brought some bottles of beer that he had brought in. So next year they're talking about expanding it out to a homebrew competition as well. So
you got to get the sampling right, though. You can't just have we've
got to come up with an idea.
You got to get the little petite plate so you can kind of I'm actually tasting things. I've just gorged myself on Maltesers, so whatever it is, it doesn't matter now.
It's kind of
so you're gonna have to get a little bit of finesse there, like little plate, little 25 little plastic cups type thing. Okay, yeah, sure, okay, so you can actually have the taste test, or you just
and each dessert doesn't need to feed 25.
That's right.
You can just have quarter serves.
That's right.
No, we'll fine tune these things as we go. We're only new at this.
It might be like put them in bring down two ice trays or something like that with 24 little sticks in it with your dessert and ice tray, and someone can test it out. Something like that.
Sully made something too. Sully made some sort of cake. He made the orange cake or something, wasn't it?
Mandarin cake.
And
that was actually really good.
It was good. Yeah. It was basically
I think we have to split it.
Pancake mix and a bit of baking powder made it into a cake. Anyway, it was pretty good. We got some chefs.
We've got to split it over multiple nights, I think, because it was. I was stuffed by dessert too, and I couldn't sleep from the sugar rush. So.
No, it was good. So we had a few different camps. So we had the Joes over that side. We had Wogtown. There was Frank and Anthony. They showed up. We could just call them the Mafia, and they had an honorary Australian member in their camp, which was Matt Clark from our other friendly podcast, Australian Hunting and Beyond podcast. We got it right. So Matt came for a few days, and he joined the Mafia squad in Wogtown. We had Frank and the Hippies up the back. Not Frank, Dave Willie and the Hippies.
Dave Willie and the Hippies, yeah.
And Nigel and his mates were down the other side by himself. So it was a good group of people. Everyone just interacted super well. So it was good fun. But at night time, the social crew broke up into multiple lots because Nige had his own fire pit, and then there was a main campfire, and then our fire was going in the tents. There was plenty of little side pocket groups that were getting on with each other and helping each other out. So yeah, it was pretty good. And other than that, there was quite a bit of gear testing. It's probably worth a mention. The funniest one for me that I was going to raise, and this is probably giving this torch more kudos than I have in the past. So I was lucky enough, or I felt at the time unlucky enough, to get this Army Tech Wizard torch. Right, and I've talked quite a bit about the Army Tech Crystal. It's that little one that I clip onto my bino harness, and it's just been a game changer. And the reason I called it a game changer, because it was the only torch that did work when that Wizard didn't work. And I think I may have said once or twice, I don't think I'd buy this Army Tech Wizard because the battery just doesn't last. You turn it on, it's full brightness, and about 3 or 4 minutes later, it's dead, completely done. So I pretty much chucked it.
You got replacement batteries.
I rang Army Tech and said, these batteries are cactus. Send me some more. So they sent me some more under warranty, which I have. Well, anyway, I cast it aside and I just started using my old little Lenza torch again because it just wasn't reliable. 5 or 10 minutes of full power battery is not enough. Well, anyway, I thought something got to be wrong with this thing. So I put it on charge and I noticed a little LED underneath it was flashing. So I wonder what that means. And because I'm completely colorblind, like not completely colorblind, I'm terribly colorblind, I can't tell you what colors those LEDs are. So I found this app. So if you're colorblind, slight detour in conversation, I've got this app called Colorblind Pal. And it's a Colorblind Pal app, right? It's me, see? But it's got a little crosshairs in here. Now, if I put those crosshairs now on a color, it tells me at the bottom, see down here?
What color is that?
Well, hang on. Look, what color is that? It says, I know it's not focused, but it says something orange.
Yeah.
Right? Take it away, It's gone, changes. Anyway, so now I can point this thing at LEDs and I can see when my torches are charged. You see where this is going. So apparently the torch is pretty good. It's not as shit as I thought it was. I just didn't know how to charge it. So because the lights were flashing, I thought, what do those lights mean? I found this colorblind app. I pointed at it and it said there's an error in the charging. It's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So I went and found the instructions. Apparently, some torches need instruction manuals. And if you get a torch that has an instruction manual, I suggest you read it. Because when you put that thing on charge, it doesn't charge. It won't charge. You've got to quarter turn the cap at the bottom and then it charges. Right? So if you're watching this, Jono's demoing what I'm talking about. And when that color goes solid, so that's what it was doing. It's flashing.
Yep.
As soon as you turn it, quarter turn, it stops flashing and it starts charging. Well, I'll be bloody stuffed. That thing, once it was charged, lasted me on full brightness all week. Right,
it's a pretty big battery.
Yeah, it's a pretty good battery, but it's a pretty good torch. So on full brightness, I was walking out of the bush every single night under torchlight, so probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes walking out at night, and the thing is still going strong. I didn't need to replace the battery at all. So it's a good torch. So if you're looking for a good torch, Army Tech Wizard, go and have a look. Read the instructions. It's important.
RTFM. RTFM. Read the fucking manual.
Oh, right. It's like PEBCAC, but different.
Okay. It's an RT thing. Yeah.
It's important. But anyway, that was my little gear story. But we had quite a bit of other stuff that we were playing with, Jono. You had Mystery Ranch Pack.
Mystery Ranch Pack, yep.
So how'd that go?
Really good. I didn't get to test the meat shelf in it, unfortunately, because I didn't actually shoot a deer. I shot at a deer, but didn't shoot the deer. But I saw multiple deer, but I was being very selective. So I was looking for a good buck. It was only on the last day that I got a little bit desperate and said I would shoot anything that stepped in front of me. But yeah, I saw an okay buck. I had a shot at him, unfortunately missed him, so I didn't get to test the shelf. But as a pack, big upgrade from the Kuyu one that I've got. It's a lot bigger. It takes a while to
size, you mean the upgrade?
Yeah, in sense of volume. Yeah, and a couple things are very different on it. For instance, the Mystery Ranch doesn't have any side pouches. It's got mole on the side, so you can actually attach multiple different things. Where I'm used to having a pouch on the side where I store things, so I had to adjust what I was doing, but that's part of it. And that was for the first day or two, was all about adjusting gear and getting used to it. I thought it was a great pack. Once I learned to pack it I had to pack it differently to how I would my KUIU pack because it's got different pouches and all that. But I actually found it an awesome pack in the end. I think the one thing I really liked about it was it's really waterproof. So the KUIU is not waterproof at all. I found if I get caught in downpour, my gear gets wet inside it. Whereas with the Mystery Ranch, it didn't. It's actually got the zips that seal up. So when you zip it closed, the zips actually close up. There's like a coating that goes over them, and it actually seals the zip. So you're not getting water ingress through the zips. Love that. Really comfortable. It wasn't at first because it's got the frame in it, and I'm not used to having a solid frame. I found for the first couple of days, my back and shoulders really struggled because it was really forcing my back to be straight, because I was more used to having a pack that rounded to it. But once I got used to it, it certainly was comfortable, and I did some really big walks and big days. Excuse me. And I can see the benefit of the shelf and the frame when carrying out a deer. I didn't get to test it in anger, unfortunately, but I can see the benefit of it having that solid frame to attach all the meat out to. But you had the Tatonka pack, didn't you?
Yeah.
And you got to carry out an animal. So how did that go?
Oh, just unreal. And I've chucked a video up, so if you're interested in seeing it, go and have a look at the YouTube videos that we throw up. I've put a Tatonka Modulus one up there. Very similar concept to what you're talking about. It's a carbon fiber frame, outer frame, and then you attach whichever size pack you want. So mine had the 30-litre pack on it, which originally seemed really small, but I've been using the KUIU 3000, which is, what is it, 3 something cubic whatever's.
It's about 40
litres.
something.
What
it's
was
a little bit smaller. It's a little bit smaller.
3,000 cubic feet. No, cubic inches. Cubic inches,
yeah. It's a 50-litre pack, basically. And I found that KUIU 50-litre pack was really good in terms of its size. I only used a fraction of it for my hunting gear, and then it was cinched right down, and it was good because once I shot a fallow, I could drop both front shoulders and all of the back straps and bits and pieces in it, and then strap an outer quarter, a back quarter on each side on the outside. So it was the right size for fallow with my hunting gear in it, and it had a big top pouch. If I didn't take an animal, it would be cinched down quite a lot. So the Tatonka with the 30-litre pack had plenty of room for water bladder, my game kit for butchering, all of the other bits and pieces of, torches and batteries and stuff that just goes in your pack, knives. There was heaps of room for that. And then because that outer 30-litre pack is quite small, and when you butcher an animal down, it goes on that meat shelf. So you take that pack off, you've now got the frame, a meat shelf comes out, you put everything on that, and then you attach your pack to the outside again. You just didn't need all of that extra space because it's designed to carry the meat on that meat shelf. The other thing I found, even when I wasn't using it as a meat shelf, like I'd roll up my Swazi jacket and my wet weather pants, and instead of putting them in my pack, there was this great space between the pack and the frame to keep my wet weather gear separate from the dry stuff that was inside the pack. So I started using that for just stashing my jacket and my wet weather pants and stuff like that up there. It's got a good place to carry a rifle in the middle, which I quite like. You can carry the rifle between the main pack and the frame. All the right support structures are there for that. Just really comfortable. When I first got it, similar, Jono, I didn't feel it was overly comfortable to start with. And then I watched a video on how to set it up properly, and that made it work.
Yeah, I saw that video. Yeah,
just how to tighten the straps properly. I'd never seen a video like that before, so it was just lucky that I'd spotted it. And then, of course, once I got some weight in it, once I got my hunting gear in it, and 3 litres of water in it, put some some gravity weight on it, settled in quite nicely, and I just found it super comfortable. There probably hasn't been a hunt that's gone by in the last 5 or 6 years with whatever pack I've got that I didn't get some sort of not strain, fatigue, just being tired carrying a pack around. I didn't get that at all with this. And to that point, I had a absolutely shot neck the whole time. I woke up the day before I went. I hit a nerve on my neck, and I really was struggling. But the pack didn't seem to bother it. So, there was a comfort to that pack that allowed me to continue what I was doing without putting more damage onto the nerve. So quite liked it. Did get to go and help the Joe's pack out. That was a funny story, and you'll see that when we put the video together. But one of the boys shot a handy little buck, but wasn't too sure what to do with it in the field. So they zipped back to camp, and I went back out with them. And showed them how to field dress gutless style. They'd heart-lunged it, so it was going to be a mess. So I just showed them how to butcher it on the ground, how to get the best parts off it without going into the gut cavity and having to make all of that mess. And I got to carry that entire animal out on the Tatonka meat shelf, and it was just unreal. It was so comfortable. I've carried a lot of heavy weights in packs, but because this is so close to your back, like it's right and tight to your spine, doesn't make you lopsided or trippy or heavy. So no, I thought it was great, and it was a good size. It was a good size buck in terms of the size of the animal. So I carried every single part of that animal out that we were packing out, and it was great. It was heavy, but it was comfortably heavy. Yeah, so that was really good. As for waterproofing, I'm not sure. Well, no, I can tell you that it does not survive a catastrophic downpour with hail.
We
got smashed. It was so heavy, and I did notice that there was a bit of moisture inside that 30-litre pack, but far out. I'd love to know whether the Mystery Ranch held up to that.
I was back in camp by that point.
It was a torrential downpour, so hard to say whether that's a fair old test for it. But I did notice that a lot of packs come with a waterproof overcoat, if you want to call it that. It comes out the bottom zip. Didn't have that. In fact, I'm better go back and have another look and make sure that that's the truth. But I didn't notice that it didn't have anything stuffed in a little zip at the bottom. So that to me sort of tells me that they expected it to be waterproof if they didn't give you anything extra. But it was good. And to your point, also, Jono, I think a little bit clumsy to start with.
Yeah,
but we were testing a lot of new stuff. We both had new boots. We both had, boots came out.
New bino rig as well.
We got to camp. New packs, new bino rigs, a few new jackets and bits of clothes and things like that we were playing around with and testing. Any one of those things you'd probably test on its own, but to get your boots, your bino rig, your pack, basically everything that you carry in a new home and a new place, it was always going to be a bit awkward, I think, to start with, but certainly settled into it.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned new, wet weather gear, new jacket, clothing. I was fortunate to have that Huntec jacket, and I got caught in the one storm the one afternoon, chucked that on. It was so good.
It's a nice looking jacket.
It's an awesome jacket. I love it's nice and long. It comes down almost to the back of my knees, so I can sit down on the wet grass and I'm not getting, my ass is not getting wet. So I was sitting over scrapes in the wet and didn't have to worry about it. Got to worry about the leeches, but at least your ass is not getting wet and getting cold, which was nice. So that was an awesome jacket. It was great to chuck that on when that rain came, because we had a few rainy days. And what I liked about it was waterproof, but I didn't get too sweaty in it. Sometimes those waterproof jackets, you just don't sweat. It was really breathable. Plus you've got, the zips under the armpits and things like that, so you can actually dump heat. So although it was remarkably warm, this trip to Nundle, I couldn't believe how warm it was.
Yep. Almost sunburnt.
Yeah. I had frost one morning down in the bottom of Hanging Rock. Otherwise it was almost every night was double digits. It was crazy.
Yeah. People walking around camp in T-shirts. The year before, middle of the day, yes, it got a bit warmer, but I'd still have a fleece and probably a jacket over top to catch the wind, or stop the wind, I should say. It was silly warm. Even now.
Thermals didn't even come out the bag on this trip. No. And the only time I took a jacket out was when it was raining. It was crazy. Yep. It was so warm. Very unusual for Nundle.
Yeah, and I wonder if it impacted the animals. That day that we took everyone for a walk, that afternoon, that afternoon, like once we'd finished with that, that's when we got that big rain.
Yeah.
And then the very next morning, the animals were up and active, that next day.
So that buck I was chasing, he was in the bottom of that big gully, and he was croaking. I heard him in the afternoon, and the following morning I heard him again. And then we had that storm come through, and he shut up. I did not hear another peep out of him after that. And there was very few croaking reports coming into camp after that first storm. That seemed to shut them up a little bit. And until the end of the week, when it got colder, I think that cold snap is actually what kicked it off again. That's when more deer came in and people started hearing reports of croaking. But that first storm shut them up for me. I heard nothing after that.
Yeah, we heard them that first walk. We went, my first hunt walk out with John, who came for a wander, and I went and showed him the spot that I've been looking at. And we were about probably 10 minutes into that, and we knocked over a little spiker, which was nice. just opened the account for the week. And, again, when you organise these things and you don't know whether deer are going to come into camp and people are wanting to learn, it's just so nice to get one early and everyone can, participate in the process. So it was quite funny. We knocked that one over. Missy indicated it so well. In fact, she's done something that I haven't seen her do before. Well, sorry, she interacted with the deer in a way I hadn't seen it before, in that she saw it first, she showed me where it was, and then it stepped out and fronted up to her. So Missy's the dog, if you don't know who Missy is. So the deer fronted up to the dog, as you imagine it would to a wild dog, just to say, whatever, mate. So its attention was on the dog, and it didn't notice me as I lined up and bowled it. So just a really good experience. But we were so confident where we after we'd seen one deer 3 minutes into the walk. We'd heard another one about 4 minutes into the walk, and then we knocked this one about 6 or 7 minutes into the walk. And we're like, okay, well, it's all on. So John was like, let's just gut this one quickly, and we'll leave it here, and we'll go and shoot another one
on the way out. Yeah.
It wasn't quite that easy.
No, it wasn't.
But we did wander down into this area, and we picked up the trail cams, and we got some excellent animals on trail cams. So many animals on the trail cams, and on our way back up, we went and picked that deer up on the way out. And as we got to it, it was after last light, and the croaking started. And we could hear them either side of where we were, and it was like, oh, this is so good. First trip in, deer on the ground, croaking's going off, like it's all happening. But as these things do happen, they quieten down. There's a lot of scent in the bush, just people moving around. They quieten up, and then they come back to life again with the cold weather. So that was good fun.
It was good fun.
Yeah. You tried a new pair of boots as well.
I did. So our mates at Valhalla, they sent me a pair of, and I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Grizz Sport or something like that. Grizz Sport. Grizz Sport Har Country is the boot, and you saw me. I took it out of the box when I got there. And didn't break them in, didn't do anything. That first morning, put them on, and they were super comfortable. They didn't need any breaking in. I did, a couple of Ks every session. They were an awesome boot. I've never wore the Har boot, 8-inch boot before, and oh man, I loved them. There was a couple of occasions where the ankle probably would have gone if I wasn't wearing a nice Har boot. I'm sold on that really, and with the leeches and that, it really helped as well.
Yeah, I bet it did.
I got nailed on that first morning when we sat on the log. Oh, that was crazy.
But after like that, a really heavy boot, but they weren't.
But they weigh nothing. They weigh absolutely nothing. They're super light.
I don't know how they make it.
I don't know, but I mean, super light, super comfortable, waterproof. With all that rain we had, my feet didn't get wet once, which is awesome. I went through a couple of creeks. Really, really good boot. I don't believe they're that expensive either, so they're really, really good value for money.
They're a pretty reasonably priced boot, that's for sure.
Yeah. Highly recommend them. Yeah, the Grizz Sport Har Countries. They're an awesome boot.
So throw them up on your gear page so people can see them. We better check them. I'm not sure that they weren't a sample that they were trying to bring to market, but they were still getting some reviews on. But if they're available, certainly there is a mid-priced boot. I think far out. You couldn't have been in more muddy, wet, crappy conditions.
Correct.
And to have dry feet, I think that's sensational. I was lucky enough to pick up a pair of lower Rangers beforehand, and same experience. As you can imagine, Lower's a very well-known brand for this sort of stuff, and there were times that I was stepping out of the car and into torrents of water that were just rushing over your boots, and never, ever, ever did I have a wet sock at the end of the day. Just, again, straight out of the box. If you're looking for that, that top-end hunting boot that's going to last you a long time, not to say the Grizz Sports won't. We don't know. We haven't tested them for that long.
Well, I'm going to test them over this year and see how they stand up. But I mean, I did a week in Nundle in those conditions, and they came out with flying colours. So we've got a couple trips coming up, a couple private land trips. I probably won't wear them in the territory. I think they'll be too hot for the territory.
Yeah, I'll be going back to the old. Might find another pair of very lightweight lowers for that. But I just can't believe now that you can get a top quality leather boot that's going to support heavy weights on your back in the bush, and you don't have to wear them in. It's like wearing sand shoes.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was expecting a break-in period. No, I mean, there was like some adjustments to get the tension right, because they've got like a tension hook on them that come right down on the ankle where you can actually lock it in. which I've not had a pair of boots with that before. But once you get the tension right on them, it sort of locks the lace in place, and then you can tighten it around the leg going up past, over the ankle all the way up the shin, because they're such a hard boot. It makes such a difference because it just locks the ankle in place, and then you can get it all the way up the shin. And for me, I've never worn a hard boot. I didn't think I'd find them comfortable, but man, they were so good. I didn't even take them off when I was camp.
Yeah, that's a testament, eh? Usually we're trying to kind of rip your boots
Get
off
them
your
off
feet.
as soon as you can. But the only thing I was doing was lifting up looking for leeches. But yeah, a bit of error guard around the tip of the boot. No leeches.
Yeah, that was a really good tip. I had those Hunters Element. They call them gravel guards. They're those neoprene ones. So they seal nice and tight. So it makes my 6-inch boot an 8-inch boot by the time you attach it all the way around. And again, I was just spraying AeroGuard inside the neoprene gaiter and then putting them on, and that stopped the leeches straight away. Maybe that's why they disappeared. There was so much AeroGuard getting around that they just... Man, there were some leeches, man, far out. There was some blood pouring out of people.
We were sitting in the annex, in the sort of base camp that we had, Mark. We had 20 people sitting around, and you'd just see leeches just crawling up all over the place,
along the floor, trying to...
And we had matting down, which held up really, really well. Actually kept, the inside of the base camp was it held up really well with the amount of mud we had. But the leeches just came in and it was just all over the place. And as I said, I think, who was it? Was it Derek who had that big, massive one on him? That was crazy. It was some of the biggest leeches I've seen on them.
I can't remember. I thought it was Chris. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Oh, I think it was Chris. It was Chris. Yeah, that's probably the biggest leech I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah. And there were times we were sitting down in the gullies and you could just see them,
crawling around,
just trying to find a host. Pretty feral bloody things, aren't they? But
it's the worst I've seen them, actually.
Yeah. But other than that, I think we did pretty well. We had a good time. Everyone had a great time. And we got to give away a heap of our supporter material, and everyone got as you said, Mark, everyone got a show bag to go away with. It was full of random stuff, so that was pretty cool. 2 Zolios got given away and well received. So there's a couple of fellas out there now with a Zolio with an unlimited subscription. The binos disappeared and a few other things. So, yeah, lots of thanks goes out to those that supported the camp. Hopefully, not yet decided yet, but we're pretty keen on the idea of taking Hunt Camp to Victoria, doing a public land samba hunt. We'll see if we can string that one together. If you're interested, hopefully you can come along to that. That'd be brilliant.
That'd be something different.
So next up is a couple of short ones, and it's the territory.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the Slam. What is it? The Slam Returns. I guess that's coming up pretty soon.
Returns. Is that what we're calling it?
I don't know. We need to come up with a name for that one. The Slam Pod or whatever they call it in French.
The first Slam, Owen that was on the Slam, we helped him get we introduced him to the guys at Beretta, and he picked himself up a BRX. Before he got it, it went to the workshop, and Byron did some work with it, get it Cerakoted and all sorted out, put the aim point on top of it, and he's just on his way back from Stewart Island now. So we might get him onto the podcast in the next couple of weeks to tell the Stewart Island story. But he managed to take a whitetail spiker. Said it had a hell of a time. I think they got 5 or 6 animals into their camp, which is pretty unbelievable for whitetail because they're hard to get onto. Lots of fishing, some interesting weather and bits and pieces. But the old BRX aim point combination's probably perfect for that close country on Stewart Islands. Yeah, looking forward to hearing that story.
Yeah. It looked like an amazing trip. I believe he's already booked to go back, from what I heard.
Yeah, I
read
saw
as
that
well.
online somewhere as well. Yeah.
So yeah, he said it was once in a lifetime trip, but it looks like it's going to be twice in a lifetime. So
yeah, I'll be interested to see how his girlfriend says anything about that one. She was
but we've got
the first one.
We've got we've got the Slam Returns, whatever we're going to call it, coming up. That's with Rowan again. That's in a month's time, I believe. We'll come up to a month. It was in June. Yeah. So
middle of June.
Yeah. So Mike, as you said, a couple of shorter ones, weekend private land hunts coming up. And then before you know it, what is it? 4 months. In 4 months, we'll be on road to the territory.
With a couple of special guests that you might recognise 1 or 2 of them from around the place. We'll keep that a secret for now. But we've invited a couple of guests along.
Yeah, crew of 6. So
Yeah,
be
we're a
good.
crew of 6, and we're making the drive this time rather than flying. When we're bored, we'll live stream. So look out for plenty of midnight live streams. Terrible in-car karaoke.
That's the thing. I mean, you're going to have to pull over to have a rest, but no one's going to rest. Someone's going to be sitting there going, okay,
All right, who's driving next?
who's driving? What are we doing? What are we doing? That's it. So we're going to be doing
in-car karaoke.
In-car karaoke.
well, between car karaoke.
Well, we've never done
Over
that.
the two-way.
Over the two-way, you reckon?
Yeah.
Battle of the
some people-
cars.
Pistol for the
so-
truckies.
Yeah, why
So
not?
yeah, 2-vehicle convoy, lots of gear,
Yeah,
lots of
No
buffalo.
idea.
Lots of buffalo.
All right.
Hopefully.
Well, we'll call that a wrap for Hunt Camp. I think that's a reasonable explanation of what went on. Probably not too much more to share. We had some other good things go on, but they'll come to mind in the next few podcasts, and we'll share them as they come. But watch out for the video. We'll put that together shortly. They'll give you a bit of a teaser as to what it was like if you've never been, and what you might be able to expect if you come to one of the next ones. So
It's only 11 months to the next one, so
That's the spirit, mate. It's like
There we go.
I'm like a kid with Christmas.
Jono's organising Samba, so be good. I'll take a
am I?
back
okay.
seat. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
Samba sounds really interesting.
Yeah. Very good.
I got
We'll see.
180 grain oryx out of a 3006 that I want to introduce to a Samba.
Let's see how that goes. It'll do well.
Yeah, shooting well, so I know exactly the rifle. Just need to put the Samba in front of the rifle.
Well, we can make that happen, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think we
I'm
will.
sure we can.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
We'll call it a night. We're all good.
We'll call it there. Cool. Thanks, gents. Catch you soon.
Okay, guys.